Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, let's just dive right into this fascinating intersection of technology and human motivation. Today, we're exploring a seriously powerful dual reality. On one hand, how we can intentionally gamify our lives to level up our personal and professional growth. But on the flip side, the hidden ways platforms use those exact same AI mechanics to play us. It's a story of empowerment, psychology, and the invisible algorithms shaping our everyday choices.
So imagine for a second transforming your daily grind into an epic quest. What if every time you finished a difficult project, went to the gym, or, even just tackled a mundane household chore, you were granted experience points? Sounds incredibly empowering, right? Well, this isn't just a fantasy anymore. It's actually the foundation of a massive movement towards behavioral gamification.
Here's our main menu for today's explainer. First, leveling up real life. Then, we'll look at the neuroscience of rewards, followed by your AI co-op partner. After that, we'll face the invisible game master, and finally, wrap up with the ethics of nudging. Let's get into it.
Leveling up real life, starting with character creation.
Think about how a tabletop game designer balances character attributes. In game design, you often see these foundational stats, right? Things like body for physical strength, mind for intellect, and soul or spirit for willpower. Well, what modern gamified apps have done is brilliantly map these classic RPG stats directly onto your real-life habits. So instead of just checking off a box saying you went for a run, you're actually adding a permanent point to your physical body stat. How cool is that?
You've got apps like Habiticas using an awesome 8-bit aesthetic where you literally join parties with friends to fight monsters by finishing your to-do list. Or Forest, which has you plant virtual trees that actually wither if you get distracted. And then there are newer tools like Be Done and Habit Flow. They treat your tasks as epic boss battles, using dynamic AI-generated quests to keep you in a state of flow and help you completely crush procrastination. It's literally taking the dopamine-releasing mechanics of gaming and pointing them squarely at your real-life goals.
Moving on to Section 2, the neuroscience of rewards. Let's talk about hacking the brain.
The cognitive psychology behind all of this is absolutely fascinating. Take a neuroscientist who actually has ADHD. They grew frustrated with standard productivity apps and just decided to build their own, called QuestMind. In doing so, they discovered a critical flaw in most platforms. Taking away health points or breaking a user's daily streak doesn't actually motivate them. Nope, it actually trains the brain to avoid the app altogether, just to dodge that negative feeling.
So, to truly hack the brain's reward centers, especially for neurodivergent folks whose brains might have, say, blunted reward anticipation, you need specific mechanics. This means giving immediate experience points the literal second a task is done. It means using streak multipliers for variable rewards so the brain doesn't get bored. And crucially, it means making boss battles purely additive. You deal damage when you succeed, but you never lose health when you fail. It's all about that positive reinforcement.
Which brings us to Section 3, your AI co-op partner, the ultimate ally.
We've talked a lot about personal habits, but let's shift gears to professional growth for a second. Human executive coaching is expensive and totally schedule dependent, right? AI can fix this. But the problem is, most people use AI like it's just a search engine with a personality, and they get terrible generic HR advice back. To fix this, leadership experts suggest giving your AI a 3-layer context framework. First, give it your business context. Are you a tiny 10-person startup or a massive global enterprise? Second, outline your specific leadership profile. And third, define the coaching avatar. Do you want a Socratic questioner or maybe a direct challenger?
And the difference in output when you do this? It's brilliant. If you ask a generic AI how to handle an underperforming employee, it just tells you to schedule a meeting. Thanks, super helpful. But a properly prompted AI, acting as your Socratic co-op partner, responds by saying something like, "Given your direct style, let's explore. Is this a skill gap or a will gap?" It challenges you. It understands your world. You have successfully built a 24/7 ally.
Now for Section 4, the invisible game master. Here comes the plot twist.
We've seen how powerful it is when we use these tools on ourselves, but what happens when they are used on us? We really have to ask ourselves a serious question here. When we interact with gig economy apps, infinite social media feeds, and e-commerce platforms, who is the invisible game master pulling the strings? Because trust me, the game is absolutely being played, whether you realize it or not.
And that brings us to a concept called choice architecture. See, human beings have bounded rationality. That basically means we take mental shortcuts because we just can't process everything at once.
Knowing this, platforms use AI to strategically redesign our digital environments. They act as choice architects. They set defaults and arrange options to subtly nudge our behavior, usually to maximize their own profits or engagement metrics, of course. It's a lot like falling dominoes. A tiny, seemingly insignificant AI nudge can trigger a massive, unconscious cascade in our decision-making. Streaming platforms, for instance, they don't just recommend movies anymore. They use AI to dynamically change the artwork on the thumbnail based entirely on your specific psychological profile. It's just a tiny tweak at the start of the chain, but it drastically increases the likelihood that you'll click.
Let's consider the case of Tom. He's an exhausted rideshare driver who is totally ready to go home after a grueling 10-hour shift. But right as he's logging off, the AI sends a push notification. You're just $15 away from your daily target. The platform's AI actively analyzed his personal financial goals and calculated the exact moment to trigger his psychological loss aversion bias. And guess what? Tom stayed on the road, completely ignoring his own fatigue.
So, in stark contrast to that neuroscientist we talked about earlier, who was building empowering tools to help people with ADHD, corporate AI is frequently designed to actually exploit our cognitive limits. It weaponizes our limited attention spans and our deeply wired desire for immediate rewards, just to ensure we keep driving, keep scrolling, and keep buying.
Section 5. The ethics of nudging. Let's talk about regulating the system. As we look at regulating these systems, the absolute most crucial danger we need to understand is called automation bias. This is our unconscious tendency to just defer to automated systems, even when they conflict with human expert judgment. We see this in the justice system, where biased AI risk scores have disproportionately harmed African Americans. We see it in hospitals with medical misdiagnoses, and even in countries using smartphone digital footprints to unfairly exclude rural populations from getting credit.
And listen, this isn't some fringe issue. A recent report out of Singapore shows that a massive 67% of employees are already using generative AI tools. That's huge. With adoption soaring globally like this, understanding these influence mechanisms is absolutely critical for modern business leaders. The AI is literally in the room with us right now, helping make decisions.
To regulate this ethically, we really need to differentiate between two types of influence. On one side, we have subliminal manipulation. These are hidden tactics that operate totally below our consciousness and strip away our autonomy. But on the other side, we have supraliminal influence. These are transparent nudges that operate above our perceptual threshold, which we can consciously evaluate and then choose to either accept or completely ignore. Fortunately, legislation is actually starting to catch up here. The landmark EU AI Act, which was passed in May 2024, explicitly prohibits AI systems that deploy deceptive, subliminal techniques to exploit human psychological vulnerabilities. It enforces a very simple but incredibly powerful rule. AI systems must be designed to enhance, not diminish, human agency and autonomous decision-making.
Well, we have covered a ton of ground today in this explainer, from treating your focus like a video game stat to recognizing exactly when a platform is using your own psychology against you. As we navigate this heavily gamified, AI-augmented world, I want you to take a close look at the notifications and the apps on your phone today. Seriously, look at them and ask yourself, who is actually the game master here? Are you playing the game, or is the game playing you?